guy's going to run a marathon dressed like this. Anyway, at about 27 k's, they ran past me.
Oh shit!
And I learnt a lot about. I used to ask people before that, what sort of time did you do on your trail race?
Mm.
And they'd sort of say, I did 4 hours, no, 5 hours or whatever, and it was sort of discarded as a useful question. And that day I learnt why.
It's not really important because it's so different,
and it depends what hills.
It's about more the experience and whatever,
It is, It's a totally different event to a normal road marathon, and I learnt that the hard way.
Interesting. Now, you've done the New York Marathon as well, haven't you?
Yeah.
Yeah, I did that this year. What did you think of that? Was that one of your highlights? I loved it, yeah. When did you do it?
I've done it a couple of times.
Okay.
I think it must be 4 or 5 years ago now.
Yeah. And why did you do it a second time? Just because you loved it that much?
Yeah, and I love New York that much.
Yeah.
It was just an opportunity to go back and do it again and do New York. And I qualified in the New York event on time to do it again.
Oh, wow. Okay.
So, and I was thinking, I'm not sure that I really want to do it, the next year. And then I can't remember why, but they had to postpone it and they pushed it out so you could choose what year. So I pushed it out to 2 more years, and so they were 3 years apart.
Okay.
And what a magnificent
great
event.
race.
I mean, you're running through New York, you're running into Central Park, you're looking at all those things that are New York.
The crowd.
Yeah. Million people lining the streets.
Never forget it. The whole way through there's music and crowd and go Peter, you got this all the way around.
Yeah.
It was so, and like you said, the finish. People, so crowded getting out of there, but they gave you a great poncho and big medal. Oh, it was so well organised. I really enjoyed that. All right, mate. So talk me through what you love about Ironman and how did you get to Hawaii?
Yeah.
Being a CEO, father of 2 twins, how do you go? Firstly, what you love about it, and then how do you get to Hawaii? Do you think? What's the secrets or the advice?
Yeah. Look, I did a couple of triathlons when I was in Victoria.
Yeah.
But if you like endurance, you can't help really but look at an Ironman and think, geez, I'd love to do one of those one day.
So
and I used to think.
So you mean the challenge of pushing your body, isn't it?
The challenge. I mean, it just seems ridiculous at the time that you got to do swim 3.8 k's. And ride a bike 180 before you do a marathon. And I thought, but people actually do it.
Yeah.
So it must be possible.
So 5 or 6 hours on a bike and then run a marathon. Yeah. It's incredible, isn't it, really?
It is. Yeah. It is incredible, really, when you think about it. But when I came over here, I was running and riding bikes. So I started riding a bike because I was getting injured running, and I thought it kept me fit.
Okay.
And I happened to come across the Lakers one day.
Yep.
And so I said, where did you guys start here every
This is
week?
just out on the bike?
Yeah, this is out on the bike. In fact, at the time, I was jogging along and I said, look, there's a group of bike riders. And my wife said, go and ask them whether you can join them. And I said, no, I don't know them. I don't know. And she said, go on. So I did. And so I caught up with the Lakers, loved them, great people, good fun. Yeah. And so I started riding with them. And then there was a particular lady, Verity Edwards. Used to be a journalist at the Australian, is now at Business SA.
Mm-hmm.
She'd just come back from Hawaii, and I looked at her. She's a tiny little thing, superstar athlete, and I thought, well, if someone as little as that can do that, an Ironman, I should be able to do one. So I set out to do an Ironman, train.
And looking for that next challenge, something above a marathon, I'd imagine, is what you're looking for, I
just wanted to get one. I wanted to be able to say I'm an Ironman.
So how old were you at this point?
That was in 2004.
Okay, so it was 14 years ago.
Yeah.
44?
About that. 46, I think, Yeah, so I started training with the Lakers, and there was a few of us doing it, so I had people to train with. And look, I wouldn't do it if it wasn't for the social interaction as well. There's no way I'm going to train myself to do an Ironman on my own.
Yeah.
That just doesn't work for me.
You having a full-time job being a CEO, you had to get up early. There's no other way to do it, is there?
Yeah, that's right. And if you've got people to train with, it makes a difference. Yeah. And I mean, we went from maybe 6 or 7 people doing one Ironman a year. The club had about 70 people. It's now got more like 350 people, and we do 80 Ironmans around the world.
There's a lot of people doing Ironman, isn't there?
Yeah, it's an enormously quickly growing sport.
Yeah.
So I just trained hard and got really, everything that I did was carefully sort of planned, and I was anal.
So you're talking about your diet, or you're talking about when you trained and how you
Not
trained?
my diet. That was the one great thing. I'm more concerned about my diet now than I was then. But back then, it was the training.
Yeah. How many Ks you need to do on the bike, the pace you need to do in the running, etc.
All those sorts of things. Yeah. And I ate whatever I wanted to, because no matter what I did, I couldn't put on any weight, so that wasn't an issue.
You had some major injuries too, didn't you? I remember you punctured a lung.
Oh, I had, my tally is 12 stitches, 9 broken ribs, 2 punctured lungs, a broken collarbone, and 2 cracked vertebrae.
That's all coming off the bike, is it?
Yeah, all coming off the bike. Wow. Yeah.
And now you recovered quite well from that punctured lung, from memory. You did an Ironman not that long after.
Yeah, one of them, I qualified for Hawaii.
Yeah.
And my first time, this is in 2009, and it's hard to get qualified for Hawaii. You've got to do well in an event somewhere in the world to qualify.
Let's give listeners an example. So if you were trying to qualify at New Zealand, for example, how many, in your age group, how many chances do you have to go to Hawaii from that?
Well, I'm trying to I'm doing New Zealand. I was
going to get to that. So you're doing that in 6 weeks' time?
Yep. There's one spot in my age group.
One spot?
Yeah. So I have to win.
Hasn't always been that way, has it? Are they...
Well, the way they set it up is if you've got 40 places, and they're apportioned over all the age groups, dependent on how many people are participating in that age group. Once you get into the 60 to 64 age group, as I'm now in, the numbers drop right off.
Yeah.
And
the
spots drop off as well.
How many do you think will be competing in that age group?
That's a good question. I'm not quite sure. It might only be 20.
20, yeah. But still, I mean, you're competing with guys around the world. That's not one spot from Australia, is it? That's one spot for everyone in that age group.
No, that's one spot for the New Zealand.
It's a lot of pressure.
Yeah, it is. Yeah.
Have you had a look at the time you need to do? And let me guess. It's under 10 hours, isn't it? Or is it around that?
It depends. The average is probably around 10.5 hours.
Okay.
But every so often someone comes in and will do just over 10.
Yeah. What's your best Ironman time?
9:55.
Wow. Under 10. So you're going to go close to that? Or
not in New Zealand.
Okay. Because of the hills.
Yeah, the hills. And there's a lot of things depending on the... although the run is different to the way it used to be. It's now a flat run.
Oh, okay.
So it's a hilly ride, flat run. I haven't done the flat run yet, so...
But running's your strength, isn't it?
It probably is. Yeah. Although, I'd say that here in South Australia, but because South Australians do so many hills on the bike, actually go to an international event, my bike riding's pretty good.
Strong, yeah. Okay.
And you've got runners you're dealing with who don't get the hills like we do. So. Yeah.
But I want to ask you... And this is something I struggled with when I was working in an office environment. How do you recover from a 4 o'clock start, and you're having to make decisions as a CEO, run a team? How do you recover for that? How do you not asleep by 2 in the afternoon after a long run or getting? I guess that's what a lot of listeners would like to know. How do you recover? How do you stay on top of it? And it's not just 1 week. How do you do it year after year or month after month?
Caffeine.
So when you say, that's a serious question. So and a good answer, because that's what I use. So is it a case though, when you need to get up, that's what you do? You'll just have a coffee and I'll do the training, but if I need to get up, this is what I need to do. There's no point.
I can get up at 4 o'clock in the morning, do my sport, and I get into work and I'm fired up. Yeah. Everything's ticking over. My brain's working.
Because you've been up for
I'm not tired.
3 or 4 hours. Yeah. Not at that stage.
No, not at that stage.
Yeah.
Sometimes late afternoon, I can get really tired.
Yeah.
Although you get used to it a bit. As I've got older, I think I'm better able to handle that. But I'm also going to bed earlier.
Yes. All right. What time do you go to bed?
Well, probably...
When you're in Ironman?
9:30.
Okay. Yeah. Yep.
So if I'm going to bed at 9:30 and I'm up at 4, I'm getting a reasonable amount of sleep.
Is it hard for you to get up at 4? Or is it, if you're bed at 9:30, it's like, okay, I'm ready to go?
If I plan everything the night before.
Yep.
So it's not a matter of questioning... it's when the alarm goes off.
So the bike's ready, the gear's ready.
Yeah, absolutely, everything's ready to go. Yeah.
If
I've there is the odd occasion when I've got some doubts before I get up, and whenever I've got a doubt, it usually means
You don't get up?
I'm not, well...
I don't remember you missing too many sessions.
No, I don't miss many, but sometimes I'll get up, I'll have doubts, I'll trudge around the house, and usually it's when I'm really tired, when you've been working pretty hard. And then I might eventually decide, I think I might skip the swim this morning, I'll just go for a run.
See, I love that. So you're still doing something.
Well, I try to, yeah. There is the odd occasion when I just wake up and I feel lousy.
Yeah. I think that's my biggest weakness, was that those mornings where I'm like that, I actually sleep in and tell myself, you need the sleep.
Yeah. And I can't sleep in anymore.
Well, I'm starting to tell myself, I've learnt now that that's not the way to do it, because you tell yourself what you want to hear in some ways, because you don't want to go. So you start telling, I need the sleep, and you convince yourself, So now I'm more of that school of thought, because I'm a bit of a perfectionist, so if I'm going to do it, I think I talk myself out of it because I want to do it to a level that I want to do it,
Yeah.
But I've learnt that's not the right mentality. I've learnt to chip away, and you're better off going for a light run or go with the guys, but just hang off the back, So that's what I've learned. So that's interesting you say that you'd go for a run.
Well, it's not always that way either. Sometimes, I don't schedule any days off into my plan. I coach myself, so I don't have any days off.
You've always coached yourself?
No, I have had a coach, but over the years, I know what I can do. I know what I'm capable of.
So no recovery day?
No, I don't schedule them in, but I have interstate trips and various things or early morning meetings that prevent me from being able to train. So they become an unscheduled sort of day off. And then there's the occasional day when I feel just lousy, I just say...
So the difference when the body is definitely needing recovery. Vince, what does Hawaii mean to you? And you're going for Hawaii now again, aren't you? You've done it twice?
Well, no, I've done it 3 times.
3 times?
Yeah.
Wow. So that's, for people that don't know, that's the World Championship of Ironman, and that's what we all us guys that do triathlon and Ironman, triathlon in general, really, are in awe of people who've done Hawaii. That's what we're all aiming for.
Well, yeah, it is. It's the Ironman World Championships have been there since the beginning.
Yeah.
So it is the place. It's where it started, and it's so it's
it's the Mecca of Ironman.
It is the Mecca. Mecca's the right word for it. So
you've done it 3 times.
Yeah.
Wow. Now, are you saying that's not your ultimate driver for the New Zealand Ironman? That you'll take the spot, but it's not your...
Oh no, it's the driver.
Oh, it's the driver. Okay,
yeah,
good.
Yeah.
Just be clear on that.
Yeah, I'd like to do it again. It's by far the hardest event.
Yeah.
Why
do you want to do it again? Because most people that tell me they've done it don't do their best time there. Yeah. It's hard to get there. What's pushing you to go 4th time?
Because there's something magical about the place.
Just doing the race.
Yeah, well, you go to Kona, all the best athletes in the world are there, including the Open World Champions, and they're wandering around, and the atmosphere in this relatively small town is unbelievable, full of triathletes everywhere.
Man, you give me goosebumps there.
Getting ready. It is incredible. Yeah. And when you mentioned broken ribs. I actually competed there in 2009 with 4 broken ribs. It was only 3 weeks after. I had a punctured lung too, so I just wanted to finish that year, and I thought, well, I'm not going to do a good time. I've got to be really careful in the swim because the ribs were broken in my back. So if someone hit me in the swim, they could have dislodged them, could have punctured my lung again.
It's very physical, the swimming.
Yeah, it is. It can be. So, and I thought, well, I've got to enjoy it. Yeah. This is my big opportunity. I've qualified. I really want to do it. So I'm just going to make sure I finish. And I wasn't sure whether I'd be able to. So I remember swimming out and looking back, and what you see when you're out in the bay at the start line is you look back and there's a massive crowd in a small bay with palm trees all around it and the sun sort of coming down on the area. And I looked at that, and it was just, it was like you really were in Mecca. It was heaven, looking back and thinking, this is just incredible, and I'm here,
that's your driver,
and I'm going to do it. And then you swim. The swim is unbelievable. You can see the bottom in 20 metres of water. So you're looking down, and there are dolphins around, spinner dolphins who like to show off, so they come and jump and spin in the air, and you can see all the fish life, and so it's a magnificent swim. I had to swim at the back so I wouldn't get hurt. And then the bike ride is the problem. Well, I haven't done anything tougher than this because it's very hot.
Hot winds.
It's through the lava fields. Well, they're not live now, but all black rocks hold the heat and just generate heat. And 2014, when I did it, was the toughest year in 20 years because we went out into a very strong headwind, and when we got to the turnaround, the headwind changed, and so it was in our face again, and it's just incredibly hard. And then you go for the run. You come in, the ground was that hot that I had to wear something on my feet because I couldn't run to my bike off the swim without burning my feet. That's how hot it is there.
That radiant heat coming up.
Yeah. So I remember that year, I got back on the bike. I started running, and the heat hit me straight away. I was dehydrated, and
you would have gone in with some lack of training.
Well, certainly that year. No, I'm talking about 2014 now, when it was really hot. Came out, and I was just grabbing 2 cups of water every opportunity I had, and they provide you with cold sponges, and you put them any part of the body you can.
That doesn't cut it though, does it? That sort of thing.
Well, cold water on your head helps too to just cool things down a bit. But
you need ice.
Well, they have ice.
Oh, okay.
It's iced. Yeah,
that's good.
They've got all that, so you throw ice in your cap and you stick it on your head.
Yeah.
Anything you can to cool down, and but all that sounds insane.
Yeah.
But hell, when you come down that finishing line,
it's worth it.
Packed with people on each side, with pumping music, with the commentator who does all this sort of thing and has done for many years, calling out your name, calling out people. The atmosphere is phenomenal. It's like the best carnival you've ever been to.
Better than
any
of the other Ironman by a long way. By the
Absolutely, it is, because it's also still hot. It's that party beach type atmosphere.
I guess people are on holiday. Everyone's on holidays too.
Everyone's
in that sort of place. Yeah.
And so you run down into, depending on what time it is, and in 2009 it was bloody dark by the time I got down there, run into this incredibly lit up area and cross the line, and it's just phenomenal. When you finish, you look back on it and you think, that is, how good am I?
So that was 2014, your last Hawaii. Is that okay.
That was 2004. 2009 I crossed the line, and I got through with a bit of pain on the bike, throwing drink bottles. Because every time I moved my arm, I had to swim one-armed, by the way, too. I had one arm over the water and the other one under the water, because I couldn't lift my arm out of the water because of the broken ribs. So, and then throwing the water bottle, I had to do that with my bad arm, and you had to throw it off the track. So that wasn't that pleasant, but I got through the run surprisingly. It wasn't as I thought I was going to be in pain all the way, but it was fine. And I got to the finishing line, and they come up to you and offer to dump a lot of cold water over you, because you're really salty and you're hot, and and I said, oh, that'd be great. And they poured it over me, and every muscle in my upper body cramped around these broken ribs, and it was like someone stuck a knife in my back. And I thought someone had stuck a knife in my back. And
this is at the end after you got your medal, though.
Yeah. No, this is immediately crossing the line. Well, about the same time as getting the medal. Yeah. And wow, what a shock that was. And I sort of, after everything calmed down again, I thought, well, yeah, okay, I need to still be careful here.
All right, so I can understand why you want to do it. And I've got goosebumps, and I can fully understand. I will say, I love the way you can resonate with the feeling that you have at the race, like the smell, the looks. I love that. That's a real awareness of your environment and what you're doing. I really, really like that. What was that little fleeting time? Because it's been 4 years. What's the little fleeting moment where you said yourself, I'm ready to do it again? Because we talked about off air that perhaps, have you got the drive? What's that little moment that maybe clicked and thought, is it an age thing? Is it now you're going to have a crack at it before you leave work? Or is it related in any way to anything else? Or
it's related to moving into a new age group.
That is typical triathlete answer.
Yeah. Well, you've got more chance qualifying.
So you've been waiting for this moment.
Yeah.
So when are you 60 then?
I'm 60 mid-year, but it's whatever you are at December the 31st.
Wow. Fantastic.
So it was just an opportunity to, you've got no hope if you're in the later stages of your age group.
Because the age, the decline in age.
5 years when you get to, into your 50s.
So that decline in strength or endurance is so significant.
It makes a big difference. Wow. Yeah, huge difference.
I better get cracking then.
Yeah, you better.
So I'm in the new age group. I'm 50. Just turned 50. Yeah. So interesting. So interesting.
So my best opportunity is now.
Yeah.
Because I've got all these old blokes in my age group.
Well, you'd almost say, would you argue next year's your best opportunity? Are you going to be not quite as busy now if you're transitioning out of this role, or you got other things you're going on to keep you just as busy? How do you see that?
No, I won't be as busy. It would have been ideal
so you can
in some ways if it was, next year. And and if I don't make it this year, I'll have another crack at it next year, no doubt.
Yeah. But that might be. I mean, let's say you do it this year. You do it this year. Well, then why not do it next year as well if you've got more time?
Well, I did in 2013 and 2014. The only reason I did it in 2014 was really because I had a whole bunch. We had 18 people from my club do it, which was unbelievable, just unheard of. I think largely unheard of around the world for one small club in South Australia to have 18 people doing the Hawaiian Ironman. So I was there for the fact that I had so many mates there at the same time. But the problem for me that year was also that I trained with them, and most of them were younger or better than me. And by the time I got to the start line, I think I was pretty much wrecked from riding around and running around training with them.
They're a hardcore group.
Yeah, they are a hardcore group.
And that tells me a lot about you too, Vince, that you like the social side of it.
I do.
And I've always noticed that, and you've got some good mates in the club. So I think it's really important to know that a CEO still has that side of him. I find that really interesting. Another thing I was going to touch on, I've noticed through looking at some of your background, you seem to be very loyal. Like you've been a part of the Lakers Triathlon Club for a long time. Your Surf Lifesaving Club, and then some other memberships that I've noticed there. Are you a loyal person, or how do you?
I'm not sure it's loyal.
We just don't like to leave, or
well, you make your friends are around you. I've often said to people that I can't give up triathlon here in South Australia because I don't have any other friends. They're all from triathlon.
But really. You left your Surf Lifesaving Club in not Torquay, Ocean Grove. But you're still a member there, aren't you?
I am. I'm a life member.
And you go back there and you do. I remember you doing a ride or a run or something with them one year.
Yeah, I've done rides and swim.
So you keep that connection. So there's a friendship thing. You want to stay in touch with those friends as well. Yeah.
Well, those guys I grew up with.
Yeah.
And your mates you grow up with, are just core to who you are.
It's hard to stay in contact over the years, though.
Well, it's actually got easier because of things like the internet.
Yeah, true.
I mean, I talk to my daughter on Facebook Messenger, and she's in London, and I'm looking at her face on the screen.
We are much more connected these days, but I'm tipping you'd still be connected with these guys, even if we didn't have. You know what I mean?
I'm walking across England with them in.
Tell me about that.
In May.
What's that about?
I have sort of climbed a few mountains.
Yeah, we haven't touched on that.
Done a few things like that. Trekked through Nepal with these guys.
You've done Mount Everest.
No, I haven't done Mount Everest. No. Trekked with these guys, and one of them rang me up and said, "Look, we're looking at walking across London. So it's 17 days of walking across." And I thought it'd be great to do that with my mates.
So when you say across London, from where?
Across England.
Across England. Wow.
Yeah.
Wow.
Did I say London?
Yeah.
No, across England.
Wow.
So.
How many people in that?
There's 10 of us.
Wow.
So I went back to my wife, back to Deb and said, how do you feel about walking across England?
So she's going to do it too?
Yeah. Wow. She said, I'd love to. Let's do it. And at the time I thought, she's probably not going to be all that keen on it, and it's not that athletic. So, I thought...
Is it a fundraiser, or is it just purely we're going to stay at hotels, we're just doing the
walk? You it's not a fundraiser, but you join a tour group.
Okay,
and there's quite a few of them. They pick up your bags at the start of the day. They've organised your accommodation, and they drop your bags off at the accommodation. All you've got to do is walk with the day pack for the day. It's about 20 kilometres a day, something like that. And but I'm looking forward more than anything to getting into an English pub every night after the walk with my mates and and their partners and having a few English ales. And
that sounds interesting.
Yeah, it should be fun.
Still a bit of endurance, but a different sway on it.
Yeah.
More of a social.
And I get to do it with my wife, who's really looking forward to it.
Yeah, and it'll be a big challenge for your partner to...
Oh, she's a pretty good walker.
Yeah, but 17 days in a row. That's, have you ever done Kokoda?
No.
Any ambitions to do that, or?
No, not really. I mean, I suppose I don't directly have a family history, given I've got an English background, so I don't have the history. And I'd rather walk somewhere like Nepal if you're just talking about quality of walking.
What was the trek you did there? Because you did do a.
Well, I've been over there a few times. Annapurna Dhaulagiri sort of walk, but the one that I really loved was climbing a mountain called Mera Peak. Mera Peak's 20 kilometres from Mount Everest, and and it's a challenge. It's 6,500 metres, which means it's the equivalent of base 2 on Mount Everest. So you've got base camp, camp 1, camp 2.
Yep.
So not base 2, camp 2 on Everest. It's high altitude. It's hard
so
work.
it is dangerous, isn't it? You know, people are, as a friend of ours was helicoptered down, wasn't he?
Yeah, it
With
was.
altitude
Yeah.
sickness.
Yeah.
So it is
He
quite
got
dangerous,
altitude sickness fairly early, and 9 of us started.
Yeah.
One fireman, and the rest were triathletes.
Who I work with now.
Yeah, Rob Belfield. No, Rob. And only 3 of us actually made it in the end. The rest,
and
for
you're one of the
various
3.
Yeah, the rest, and we were all the same age too, which was funny.
Wow.
Yeah.
Incredible.
So,
how old were you then? That was your. I remember that was 10 years ago, roughly, wasn't it? Just over
10 years ago. Yeah.
Yeah.
So
late 40s.
And that was a climb I tried to do a couple of years before, and we didn't get there because of bad weather.
Yeah.
And so this time we managed to make it, but we had to be up at 2 o'clock in the morning, out at 3, on the summit by 8, and back out of there by about 8:30.
Wow!
So we didn't get hit with hurricane force winds you get up in the mountains.
Very particular, isn't it?
Yeah.
That's interesting, mate. Nothing surprises me with you.
I'd love to do higher altitude, but
I remember you talking once about was it Kilimanjaro?
No, that's lower.
Which one was it?
Cho Yu, which is
yeah.
the 5th highest or 6th highest mountain in the world.
So would you have a go at that?
Well, I'd love to, but you've got to put aside,
Other
6 or I think in that case probably 4 or 5 weeks.
Yeah.
And I got to tell you, the work that you do at that altitude isn't a lot of fun. A lot of things happen to your body that are not much fun.
Yeah.
And I'm not sure.
A little bit different to a triathlon where you're in a straight line and you can watch your watch, isn't that? That's hard, but it's just a different. More variables, maybe.
I mean, you've got to be at a base camp. You've got to climb half the mountain and go back down again. You've got to do that, 10 times acclimatising before you actually get to go for the summit.
Yeah.
So there's a lot of work to be done.
A lot to it.
It's expensive, and you get all sorts of things. You get coughs.
And in all reality, that gets harder as you get older, doesn't it? Something like that, because there's more risk. You know what I mean? We're pushing your body pretty hard doing a Hawaiian Ironman, but you at least got that measured support around you, like if something happened. Whereas on a mountainside,
at 8,000 metres, if you're you're pretty much on your own.
Yeah.
There's only so much. It's like Mount Everest. I mean, if you're in trouble somewhere near the top of Mount Everest, no one can help you.
Yeah, it's goodbye, isn't it?
You've got to find your own way down somehow. Yeah. And if you can't, you're buggered, because everyone else is fighting for their lives, trying to get down as well.
That's right, yeah. Different aspect. Now, Vince, I think it's a good time to talk briefly about what you're moving on to next. So you're turning 60 this year.
Yep.
And you're handing, we've seen it in the papers, you're handing the reins over to another guy that works here.
Yep.
And how do you feel about it? What are you on to next? What's the next chapter?
Look, I've been here for 16 years,
yeah.
and I've loved every minute of it. It's been a fantastic business. I've worked with fantastic people. I've had a great board. It's been really good. But a couple of years ago, I told the board that my plans were to leave within 2 years. So coming up, we're 18 months into those 2 years.
Yeah.
And I said, look, I think it's time for me to go. And one of the major reasons I'm doing that is because there comes a time, I think, when I report to a board, I want to be on the board.
Okay.
So I feel like I've got enough experience to sit on a board and help an organisation from that level and help a CEO.
So the board here, or
no,
another board somewhere else? Okay.
You normally, it's not regarded to be the right thing to do to be a CEO and stay on the board.
Okay, yeah. And
you should go away for a year and
let the CEO coming in do his own
thing. Yeah. So I'm on the board of the National Heavy Vehicle Regulator, which is based up in Queensland. I love the role. I mean, that's only has, I think, about a year remaining on that. I'm on the board of Business SA, on the board of Ports Australia, and I love those roles. It just seems like a natural progression to me. Now you've got to get appointed to the boards. You've got to do that, and that's my next challenge. To get myself appointed to some more boards. I don't want too many. I want a few good ones, but I want them to be. I want to be able to put in the effort into them. So I'm not looking at I know people that are sitting on 10 boards. I don't know how it's possible to do that many and do them well. So a few boards and a bit more training, a bit more free time.
Sounds interesting. Sounds exciting.
Yeah.
Now, mate, I've got an out there question for you. I'll ask just a couple of little different sort of questions. No, it's not that out there. Who would you love to meet the most? If I said to you, you could have, let's say, 3 people at dinner. Could you think of any that come to mind? I reckon you could. Knowing you, you'd have someone in mind.
I'd love to meet. If you go back to people who are not around at the moment, I have an interest in Renaissance art, believe it or not. And so I'd love to meet Michelangelo or Da Vinci.
Yep.
I'd love to walk around the streets of Florence back in those days and just see what it was like.
What sort of things would you ask one of those guys? Or would you just want to see them paint?
Observe.
Yep.
Just observe them, watch them doing what they do. You know,
Yep.
that'd be incredible. I've always loved Paul McCartney and the Beatles.
Okay,
so, Paul McCartney's just a fantastic guy.
So one of the Beatles,
Yeah. There was a time when I wouldn't have minded meeting Clinton.
Oh, yeah.
Both of them, probably.
Yeah.
But Hillary was actually the one I was,
I
I would have been interested in talking to. A female at that level, is, she's obviously an extraordinary person, despite what Donald might have said about her. So
that's it. That's 3. That's
yeah.
good enough. Now that leads me to another question, though.
Yeah.
I think I saw a picture of you most recently with Pauline Hanson.
Oh yeah.
Now, what happened there? How did you?
I was at a function. I've been fortunate over the years to have met some pretty good people. I happened to be sitting next to Pauline at a Ports Australia function. I was hosting her, actually.
How'd you
with
find
a few
her?
Other politicians. Look, she's very personable.
Yeah.
She's actually not that different in many ways. She's more confident when she's sitting next to you just having a chat. And we talked about a lot of things during
Was
that.
she a good talker? Was she interesting
great.
and quite switched on?
Yeah. She's a nice person.
Yep.
Whether you like her political views or not, she was a nice person to talk to. And most politicians that I've met actually are. But when they get into political mode, you can expect all sorts of different things out of them. So, I was fortunate on the weekend to have sat next to Cadell Evans.
That's going to be my next question.
Yeah,
I saw that photo as well. So.
And he is a really lovely bloke.
Well, he does come across that way.
Yeah.
So what sort of things did you ask him? Did you talk about his riding, or because being a cyclist, keen cyclist that you
we
are?
talked a bit about Ocean Grove and Bowen Heads.
Oh, okay. Is
he has a home in Bowen Heads, and I used to catch up with him. He wouldn't remember me, but I used to catch up with him probably 10 years ago in Bowen Heads and ride with him. That's how I first met him.
Okay.
So we talked about mutual friends.
Yep.
I watched him picking out the onion out of his salad, and on the other side of him, his partner picking out the onion on the salad, and he said to me, "I don't know why they put bloody onions in salad. We can't digest raw onions." So I learnt that about him.
Well, one, I didn't know that we can't digest raw onions.
But we talked a bit about nutrition.
Yeah.
And what was interesting was we had a professional female cyclist with us too. Sorry, I've forgotten her name. I don't know them that well, but I've suddenly got an interest in the female event.
Why is that? What resonated there? Was there
I think I met 2. I met Sarah Roy, and the other one whose name I can't remember. But I asked them both when they were up on. Asked the female and Cadell when they were up on stage about nutrition, because I was listening to Sarah Roy a couple of days before talking about how much sugar she consumes, and it's outrageous. It's phenomenal how much they do. And it was interesting to hear the difference between male and female nutrition.
Oh, wow. Okay.
Mainly because males have got to do a lot of hill climbing, so they have to remain very lean. The women don't do as much hill work, so they've got to be more powerful.
So their races don't incorporate as many hills as the men?
No, that's right.
Wow, okay.
So you find that the women are,
Can be
stronger
bulkier
looking in many ways than the men who are as skinny as, and you could see that on the stage when you looked at the two of them. So they have different diets for the different types of racing, and that was really interesting to understand.
I'd never have known that.
Yeah.
Interesting. All right, Vince. I think it's time to wrap this up. It's been fantastic, mate. Now, I'd like to finish off my podcast with a little bit of appreciation. All right. So, Vince, I'd like to appreciate you, mate, for a number of things. And I normally give 3 things, as 3 is my favourite number, Vince. First one is, I've always found you so approachable, friendly and giving. And today's a good example, giving of your time, busy man. So, and your professionalism. So I just want to appreciate you for those things. Also, I want to appreciate you, Vince, for being a leader. Now, we've appreciated you for many years as being the leader of the Lakers Triathlon Club. So you've done an outstanding job the years that you're there. And it's not just the leadership in terms of when you took on the role of president. It's the impact you have around the guys. You bring that group together a lot of the time. You are social, which I find, I don't know many CEOs, but I think it would probably be unique for some, high level operators. So I want to appreciate you for that anyway. And I guess motivating the people around you. You're that sort of person that you're infectious. Even sitting here talking to you about Hawaii straight away got me thinking about Hawaii again. The last thing I want to appreciate you for, Vince, is coming to South Australia. All right, because you've made an impact. You have made a significant impression on another state. You've come from Victoria. We don't normally like Victorians, but you've come here. You've taken on a high level role. You've got involved in probably the biggest triathlon club in South Australia. So I want to appreciate you, Vince, for coming to South Australia.
Pete, let me say you have amazed me with your interview abilities. You've drawn it out of me. It's been terrific. So thank you very much.
Thank you, Vince.
Okay.
Cheers, mate.